All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Discovering Multifamily podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Scandariato with Red Knight Properties. And today we have a special guest here with us, Dr. Jeff Anzalone, and he's coming at us from Louisiana. And he actually, a few years ago, he started a blog. You can actually check it out online. It's called Debt Free Doctor, and that's at debtfreedoctor.com. He's sharing his story to a lot of different medical professionals, dentists, physicians, high income earners, which they happen to be, to help them avoid financial mistakes. And we're going to talk about that on the show, in terms of, student loan debt and some other situations as well, which I'm very curious to hear about. And Jeff has wanted to come on here to discuss the power of passive income via real estate, whether that's multifamily or a different type of asset class in real estate, and how he set up a game plan to pay off his debt quickly. And really excited to have him on the show here today. And welcome, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Looking forward to our conversation together.
Excellent. So obviously you're a doctor, medical professional, and you can relate to other medical professionals that, spend 8 years in school and they rack up, in the six figures of student loan debt. Talk to us about your story, from that standpoint, and kind of where you're at today.
Yeah, I think probably for most of us, we don't really think really too much about the student loan debt. At least it wasn't for me, because, when you get out, we think, hey, we're going to make pretty good money. So it's not like we're going to get out and make, $10,000 a year. We're going to make decent money to pay that off. So I really never gave it too much thought. I tried to only borrow only what I thought I needed. And we had people that would help us at school, with that. So about 2 weeks before I finished my training, I was supposed to come back here and work with a group practice here. And they literally just pulled the deal off the table. And we had a 2-month-old. We'd already bought a house. We were paying interest only on it, just because the banker knew the group I was going in with. This was before the 2008, the crash and all that. So it's just kind of like sign a piece of paper, you can get a house. It was pretty easy back then, pretty nice. But with that, and then had about $300,000 of student loan debt. The worst part of it was I didn't have a clue how to run a practice, how to do anything. So that to me, that was, I think looking back, that was when I went from a sort of had a, abundant type mindset to like a scarcity, like a fear mindset. Cause I realized how quickly things can be taken away from me. And it took a long time really to get out of that mindset. But during my residency, I had been listening to Dave Ramsey, and so we just started going through his baby steps, with the debt snowball, paying off the smallest one, and then, on and on and on. It took about 7 years to clear all of that up. Plus, meeting with, joining somebody to help me. I rented space from him. He taught me the ropes, and then I went off and, bought my building and started my own practice. But it was very eye-opening to see how little that they teach us really about business and money and that sort of thing in professional schools. It's almost like, hey, we're going to train you to do all this, and then boom, we don't give you anything. And so that was really disappointing looking back, and I really don't think it's gotten that much better, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's a shame. Financial literacy is a core component that I try to educate to, and a lot of my clients are doctors as well, and they're looking to diversify their income stream. They're invested possibly in the stock market or the bond market, and it's not really giving them the returns that they want. So basically, so you bought the building where you practice in and/or practice. I'm not sure. Are you still practicing?
Yeah, 4 days a week.
Okay, all right. So that's basically leading up to your first real estate purchase. So, and then, you were able to pay down your debt over that 7-year time period. How do you diversify your income source now? Because it sounds like you had an aha moment where, you graduated, you moved, and you're trying to, join that practice. And if the deal fell through, and I'm not sure if you had other income coming in at the time, or how'd you pay your bills until that was set up for you?
Yeah, just really had to hustle. I worked at multiple different offices initially to get extra streams of income coming in till I got to the point where I could work at my office full time. So that was a good thing. I was able to do that. So once we were able to pay off all the debt, then we had all this extra money each month. And the only thing that I knew to do was what we're usually taught. It was the stock market, investing, 401ks, index funds. So all the extra money would go back into the market. And I didn't think anything of it. That thought, hey, I'm going to work till I'm 65 or 70, like most of these people, and that's it. But a few years after that, we were snow skiing, and I fell, and I had a little minor wrist injury, and I think that was the first time I started thinking about, well, what would I do if I can't use my hands? What would I do if I couldn't work? Because yeah, I had disability insurance, but I mean, that isn't going to cover it, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to start, but I knew I had a problem. And that's when I started looking about other streams of income, but not taking another job. And I noticed two facts that helped guide me in the right direction. The first one was the the majority of millionaires had real estate in their portfolio. And at that time, I didn't have any. And the average millionaire had 7 or more streams of income. And at that time I had one. So that really helped me narrow down. I needed to focus on building multiple streams of income from real estate. And took years and years of going to meetings and YouTube videos and articles and all of that, but then eventually led me to mainly investing in different types of real estate syndications, which is a lot of the education that I put on my blog and YouTube channel now.
Excellent. So talk to us about that. And you mentioned you practice 4 days a week. So obviously you're still working full time. I'm sure you enjoy what you're doing with that. But talk to us about your real estate journey now moving forward. You mentioned the word syndication. We talk a lot about it on our show as well.
Mhm.
How do you view, when you're looking at a deal, or I don't know if you have a group of partners, including yourself, looks at investing in an operator or a deal, what are some of the things that you look at, and how did you become so educated to like have a blog? You're putting your name out there and you're putting out content there. That's pretty good. I was taking a look at it before the show. You mentioned it took years of reading and viewing videos. Just how did you get, without the formal education, how did you become so, I guess you mentioned the risk, but it sounds like you became really motivated to self-educate. Is that, am I correct in that sense?
Yeah, I guess just from we typically we get screwed over a good bit just because we have this stamp on our head. I'm a doctor. I'm a sucker sort of thing,
Yeah.
and we're always getting pitch deals and financial advisors and insurance people. But at that time, there really wasn't much out there for doctors, healthcare professionals with real estate. So I said, you know what, as I start learning, I'm going to put information out there, what I think people should know. And I just started blogging. I learned how to do it. Everything I learned, I got it online. Um, and it really took off. But what I noticed after a while, people started reaching out to me and they said, Jeff, we like doing this, learning about this, we like the concept, but we're just too busy. We don't
Yeah.
have time to figure out what to invest in, who to invest with. Would you ever consider putting out there um, the deals that you invest in?
Hmm.
And I had enough people ask me that, and I said, okay, well, I'm going to put together a group for accredited investors only, and I call it, it's on my website, Passive Investor Circle. And if you sign up for that, it's free, and you get my blog posts, my YouTube videos, plus you get the any deal that I invest in. So for instance, last year I invested in 5 different deals. So people could read about it. If they want to get in all of them, if they want to get in one, if they want to get in none of them, well, at least they have access to what I'm dealing with, and then let them make their own best decision. My thing is I want to give somebody an option besides just 401k.
Mhm.
And then if a 401k is right for them, that's fine, but at least give them options. I don't think it's ethical just to give somebody, like in my practice, I'm always giving somebody at least 2 or more options, unless there's just like, hey, you got to do this. But other than that, there's usually, room for 2 or more options.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. Um, so it's really, at the education component for real estate investing, I think is key. But what you said as well, that doctors are very busy in general, and that's, across the world, I would think. And they just don't have time. So they need to rely on someone they trust. And it's great to have someone who's also practicing, but also has the knowledge and spent the time to put out content and videos and whatnot. And, kind of live through it and are investing in deals. So, what's the number one pain point for the healthcare professional industry? Is it, again, just diversifying different income streams outside of, like you mentioned, the 401ks, or is it how to minimize tax obligations or defer them? Is that a huge one that you see as well?
Yeah, definitely taxes is a big issue. What a lot of the doctors are dealing with is just burnout. It's, they get to the point where they have to see patients, they have to trade time for money. And with insurance reimbursements going down each year, with more and more uh, regulation to having to document more and more. So we're actually having to try to see more patients, do more non-clinical work, which takes up time. So we're having to see more patients, work more hours, and we still are making less each year. And it wears on somebody. When you get out and you got a bunch of debt and you're young, it's not that big of a deal. But after you've been doing it for a while, and these insurance companies are telling you what to do, and it's all driven by that and the pharmaceutical agency, and you get tired of it. And they put out information out there to where they make us look like the bad guys to the patients. The patients will call us and, oh, our insurance company said this and this and this. And it's almost like, well, I'm treating you as a patient what I think's best for you. They're treating you because it's the cheapest thing to do. They're going to tell you to do the cheapest thing. But I think just after a while, people just get sick of that and are either looking to change careers, quit, or do something else. But if you have a bunch of debt, student loan debt or other type of debt, and you think about, well, I've put all this time, money, and energy into it. I don't want to, I can't quit. They're all like they're trapped. And if I can get somebody and tell them, right out of training, if you immediately focus on investing for cash flow that's replacing your active income, well, then really in about 8 to 10 years, you can pretty much be financially free.
Yeah, you mentioned the burnout, and I've kind of been seeing that across different spectrums in the healthcare field. I mean, nurses, are getting burnt out, nurse practitioners, obviously, doctors of all different types. Have you experienced doctors retiring a little bit younger than, like you mentioned, the normal 65, 70 years old, because they are investing in alternatives and they were able to pay off the debt and then save money and invest it? Is that like more of a trend you're seeing now? Obviously, that sounds like a goal of yours. But have you seen, doctors retiring like younger, and having that passive income to replace the active income? Like, is that more common now than it was 20 years ago?
I think, most of the people that I speak with on a weekly basis, they're probably in their 40s, late 30s or 40s, and they're have just heard about this concept, and they're starting to kind of see the signs of burnout, and they're looking for options until it's like too late. Unfortunately,
So I
I
was just
had
going to say,
two,
yeah.
I had a childhood friend that's a physician and another guy here that's a dentist, unfortunately, commit suicide a few years ago. And, had to do with, uh, part of it had to do with financial issues and burnout. And it's a big problem.
Mhm.
I don't know if that would have helped them or not, but I mean, if it could just help just a few people, I mean, that's worth it. Getting the message out, letting people know that, you know, and the problem I think a lot of times that they run into is they think because they're doctors, they can do everything. So they want to do it themselves. They want to go out and buy a bunch of apartments or single family homes or something. But the thing is, you take your time away, your income is your biggest wealth generating tool, and they start taking their time away from that, then their practice suffers. So this is great because you can focus on doing what you do best, what you were trained to do, treating patients or whatever profession are in. That's your best wealth building tool. Focus, the more that you make, the more you can invest, and you can invest in these passive real estate deals on the side, which what I've been doing for the last 6 or 7 years, that can start replacing your active income with passive income.
And what are some of the metrics that you personally look for when evaluating an opportunity? Is it more of the cash flow or the internal rate of return metrics on the exit, or is it a combination of both? What do you look for?
Well, what I tell them, because they're all pretty much new, I tell them it's who you're working with. It's finding the good group, the sponsor group, and those are the ones that can make or break a deal. And I encourage them to set up goals. With me having two teenagers, we're a little more risk averse, so we want something that has a proven track record. It's cash flowing, so it's not like a new development. So I'm looking for, if the returns aren't going to be as high with that, but again, it's something that's a little more conservative. But I'm not too concerned about the cash flow that much because I'm still practicing. But I'm kind of looking more for deals where I could 2x my money in that 5 or 6 year hold period, roughly.
Yeah, definitely makes sense.
Mhm.
As we wind down the show, Dr. Jeff, how can we find you? Obviously, you got your blog. You mentioned you have a website as well with some ebooks. How can they sign up for your mailing list and learn more about you as we wind down the show?
Yeah, I have a free passive income guide. They can go to debtfreedr.com/free guide. They can do that, or they just go to the website debtfreedr.com. They can read about, a little bit about me, articles, and there'll be a link if they want to watch some of the different YouTube videos. I think we have over 80 now out there that are really easy to consume that information, when you're commuting or on a treadmill or something like that, which I'm more of a YouTube person now that I've gotten into it. So that and podcasts.
Excellent. Well, Dr. Jeff Anzalone, really appreciate you coming on our show today. And for my audience, if you liked what you heard and or saw, please give us a rating and review on iTunes. It helps Jeff and I get our message out to a greater audience. That's just the way it works. And feel free to reach out to Dr. Anzalone via his platforms. Check out his YouTube videos, and I believe you have a LinkedIn as well, right? They can reach out to
Yes.
you on there as
Mhm.
well. And check out his past deals. It's always great to have case studies. That's when you're evaluating, for everybody who's listening, investing passively. And the doctor mentioned, for him, it's somewhat conservative, but he's still looking for kind of the best of both worlds. You want to be invested with an operator or sponsor that has a track record and has done this before. So that kind of gives you peace of mind. And if you're a little bit more risk adverse, again, it becomes down to what your goals are and what your objectives are. But that's definitely something that I got out of this conversation. So, Doctor, really appreciate you coming on the show today, and hope to hear from you again soon.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, and keep up the good work with the information you're cranking out.
Thank you.